at the George Washington House in Bridgetown, Barbados this morning. This is part of the UNESCO World Heritage Site complex here. Very, very interesting place. So this house dates to the 18th century. George Washington, why is it called the George Washington House? George Washington, our first president, only trip outside of the US was to Barbados, exactly, and it was when he was 19 years old. His older half-brother Lawrence had tuberculosis, which what they call consumption back in those days. And his doctors thought, hey, the best way to convalesce is in a tropical location. Cleaner air, warm temperatures, you'll love it. I swear you'll get better. He didn't end up getting better here, but they did stay here for a few months, and it was, as I said, it was, you know, he was only 19 years old at the time. He was a land surveyor, wasn't sure what he was going to be in life, but he decided to take this perilous sea journey, which took several weeks, to get out here to Barbados in the hopes of saving his brother's life. Ultimately, it did not work. We're going to take a look around this place and check it out. Beautiful house. Let's take a look in. This place is not cheap to go into, I'll tell you right now. It's $20 US per person, so for a family of 4, 80 bucks. Not cheap, that's for sure, but let's see, hopefully it'll be worth it.
To subject their child to such a journey. So Lawrence turned to his younger half-brother, George. Summer was at an end, and George, with his surveying contracts drying up for the winter, agreed to go with his brother and help get him settled. While Lawrence was quite the experienced traveler, George had only stepped outside of Virginia once or twice in his life. Travel to a new overseas territory would have seemed an adventure. So in late September in 1751, the Washington brothers boarded a vessel in the Potomac River and began what would be a non-stop 6-week journey to
6 weeks.
First traveling east, passing north of Bermuda, and then south to catch the transatlantic trade winds to Barbados. The Washington brothers' story could have so easily ended when they finally arrived at Barbados. Approaching the island from the east, they arrived 2 days ahead of schedule on the 2nd of November, and under darkness in the early hours of the morning. Had the lookout not been paying attention, they could have easily been wrecked on the coral reefs surrounding the island, which otherwise provided an effective natural defense against American forces. Having avoided disaster, the vessel came around the south of the island to anchor in Carlisle Bay, with Bridgetown situated at its northern end. Carlisle Bay was not only the main harbor for Barbados, but also a mega transshipment port for the region, able to service up to 400 ships at any one time.
In the audio guide here is that they were originally supposed to stay at another location, but somebody in that family had smallpox. So it's like, oh no, our reservation is killed. They had to find something else. They found this place, and they were very unhappy about the price. They thought it was not worth it at all. They were paying 15 British pounds per month, and which is, they're saying it's the equivalent of 3,000 US dollars today. And they said even though Lawrence was very wealthy, he married into money, that they still thought the place was was overpriced. So I guess they would have given it 1 star or 2 star or something like that, because they thought it was too expensive. Also says too that Barbados back then was well known as sort of like a medical spa town type place. A lot of people came here to convalesce, so it was sort of an established place, like, hey, go to Barbados when you're sick. Kitchen area. These are the tunnels. As I said, this was a major military garrison, and established these defensive tunnels down here. Don't know if I want to. It's kind of scary. It's so dark. I don't know how far I want to walk in this thing. Not too far, I don't think. Interesting film. I didn't realize what a formative experience it was for George Washington to be here in Barbados for a few months back in 1751. So first of all, I mean, when he came here, he was like sort of a country bumpkin, a rube from Virginia, and Bridgeport at that time was a major garrison. There was a lot of military presence here, British military presence. So this was sort of a big city compared to what he was used to, which I did not realize that. He went to shows, he sort of socialized, he met people. He also caught smallpox, which turned out to be extremely fortuitous for him. They said back in those days, 20 to 50% of the people who caught smallpox died. So he was fortunate to have survived it, but it also came in handy, more than handy during the Revolutionary War, because there were more soldiers, US soldiers, who died of smallpox than who died in combat. But he had immunity from it because he survived it. Now, they said that back then it was a 20 to 50% chance of surviving smallpox, and he was lucky to survive it. And then he may not have survived the Revolutionary War and led our country to victory had he not had the immunity that developed here in Barbados. They also tell us that he met a lot of British military people while he was here, and he sort of first got the idea to join the military or consider a military career while he was here in Barbados, which I did not know before, because he met a lot of generals, and he sort of studied what the military people here were doing. He also studied agriculture, they said, while he was here too. So he was sort of a busy guy, socialized, studied, was learning up things. He was a 19-year-old trying to figure out what to do in life. And Barbados turned out to be a formative experience for him. Very interesting.